Hi everyone, welcome again on our channel. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about the topic that it's sometimes overlooked in a spirituality, in a twin flame journey in general. And specifically, I wanted to talk about material plane, about our focus on what happens in our 3D life, what happens with our financial life and financial areas, what happens with our sense of security of being here on a 3D plane. And I'm talking about it because in order to progress further in a journey, we are working here towards unifying or maybe mastering all of those planes. And even though sometimes it's not fully comfortable for us, it will be including putting our 3D situation in the right order. Think about it from the standpoint of freedom. You cannot really feel the inner freedom and then external freedom if you feel like you don't fully have a control on what happens in your life. And I don't mean here the control meaning holding on too tightly on all the resources that you have and just not allowing things to flow at all. I'm talking about the sense of control that you are in charge of your material existence. Of course, we do have huge help. You know, the energies are working with us, for us, to make this experience as smooth as possible if we want to work with them. But you need to remember that it's up to you to kind of regain a power and see that this is up to you to, as I said, master this plane. And in context of soul connections, I'm talking about it because there needs to be balance between how much you feel like you have those things in the right order and how you're gonna be navigating this plane with your partner. Because at some point of your journey and the soul connection, you're gonna be bringing everything to the 3D. And even though I know this is a struggle, and I think we are right now learning those patterns, how do we navigate even as uncomfortable topic as material possessions within soul connections. And I know this is counterintuitive and some people like to separate those, but if you are thinking in terms of actually integrating all parts of yourself, big part of our job here is to learn to bring harmony into our material existence here. So of course, along building those healthy connections as we are talking here about, you're gonna be asked to learn to communicate properly. Maybe before even communicating properly those things, it's you need to be in the right level of evolution, of development on this material plane. So I'm thinking to talk more to people who are associating themselves more with the divine feminine concept, because I know that we still have those separations and some people are just resonating more with spiritual part of experience. And since we are operating with labels, it's easy to get labeled as divine feminine. So if you feel that, just have a look that it's gonna be actually your homework to develop this divine masculine parts in you. So develop this materialistic part of experience, because you may be experiencing more interest in spirituality and, you know, higher knowledge and all of that, but then maybe you're gonna be neglecting your financial resources. It can be either due to some fears, due to some lack of sense of a control, that you don't feel that you're able to take control. It can be related to lack of self-worth, can be scarcity mindset, that you may think like there is not enough or you're not worthy of having a nice, comfortable life here. So there is a lot of things that are hiding behind this, a little bit like a spiritual bypassing if we are trying to reject this material plane. One of the ways of looking at this topic is also through the lenses of energy. So as we know, money and all these resources are 3D manifestations of the energies that are present in our field, and we are learning to navigate them within our journey. So if you feel that you may have issues with this material plane, maybe some things are not working for you, you feel like you cannot really put those things together, or you think that your spiritual connection will be coming to you to kind of fulfill this role of a provider, because I've seen it several times happening, that we do place those expectations on our counterpart, that we build those idealistic scenario that the person will be back and suddenly all of our material worries will be ending, because we will play the roles of maybe one person taking over this soft part of the relationship, another person will be a provider. So I'm just wanted to make it clear to work through those belief systems, because here, as expression of these connections, we are meant to embrace our journey on all the levels. So there is no exceptions. Like, all the parts need to be, as I said, in the right order. You need to feel that you have a control over everything that happens to your life. You cannot really have a certain topics that you want to get rid of from your system and someone else will be taking care of it. So I do feel like that's meant to be reminded to everyone who tries to remove this topic from their journey, that it's actually, it's a very vulnerable part of ourselves that we may just not feel comfortable taking accountability for, maybe because of our upbringing, or there can be so many reasons. But I really encourage just to have a look on that first. If it gets overwhelming, give yourself time, but don't be afraid of inviting this sphere to your life and just giving it time to show up and give you some more details into how you can improve in that area as well. So you may start noticing the more you're open towards working with that on this material plane and just taking this responsibility for those financial material matters, you will see how the universe wants to actually cooperate with you. Because it may be that this is one of the last areas that you need to improve a little bit more in order to make sure that you will be creating those balance dynamics, that you will not be falling in any sort of a codependency with each other once you start building the relationships. And the more you learn about that, the more self-confident you become. You start learning about your needs, you start learning about your values, because also the more we feel like we are in control over our life, our self-confidence will be moving forward. It's going to be becoming more natural for us to speak about those matters, because sometimes the topic of money and finances and all that, it can create this taboo. So it's important to be prepared to having those talks with your partner if we are talking about bringing soul connections in a 3D realm. So I have a few steps that can help you to begin looking into this topic, and how can you help yourself to make those little steps and little adjustments. First, is very helpful to evaluate your initial relationship with the material plane and money and all the resources. Do you usually feel like this is something you want to avoid, or this is something that you're a little bit afraid of touching as a topic? Maybe you feel like you cannot really provide for yourself. So if you think about this topic altogether, there might be some themes that will be emerging with regards to your own internal power. So by analyzing this relationship, we can also translate that into, okay, how do we relate in an energy realm altogether? As I was mentioning, it's maybe there are some leaks in our energy. Maybe we tend to overgive a little bit. Maybe we are too stingy. Maybe we don't want to really share our energy. We don't like to give altogether. So this is the first step, to actually see this connection, that very often we have those parallels into how do we feel in our energetic world, and will be translated into how do we really manage our 3D plane. Do we feel like belong here, that we can learn to navigate a little bit from this softer space, not really holding on to things, and just sensing this flow, that we are not blocking our expansion, but also we are not clinging into anything here. Further, it's very useful to see if we don't have this belief system of provider, someone like a savior coming to our life, that we feel that someone has a role to fulfill in our life, to take care of ourselves and take care of our financial, material safety here. The only person who can guarantee it for you is you. And that should be your mindset as you rebuild yourself and give yourself this chance to improve on this material plane. Next, you need to remember that we are constantly supported with our goals of becoming masters of our material existence here. So if you really have interest into building something here, into taking your life in your hands and finding a new job or providing yourself this freedom and security in the world, you're gonna be guided along the way. And it's gonna be magical flip that will happen once you embrace this part of your life, especially if you had the tendencies to keep it as a taboo topic and maybe thought that it's gonna solve on its own, but then you hit this stagnancy on a journey. You may need to start gradually and gently looking into this issue. And don't be afraid to experiment and just get to know yourself better, and trust that there's just so many different resources that can help you to embrace that part of you. So with that, of course, like if you have some doubts about the next step, we can always meditate on that. We can reach for this inner knowing that we have and trust that there's gonna be this flow of life that will be taking us towards the right opportunities, and the right doors will be opening because we are ready to enter. We are ready to experiment with our existence here, and we want to expand, that we really show this openness for new things to come, for discovering new paths, new avenues. So this is very powerful, this making sure that you are ready. You're ready to change that, whatever is maybe in your current present moment, that you are ready to change that for the sake of expanding in this material realm. And finally, just getting into this understanding that this is a work that we are doing in order to make our life easier, in order to make our future connections easier, to create a freedom of expression on all the realms, to work towards understanding on multiple levels. Because you see, if we really focus only on the spiritual part of our twin flame experience, we're gonna be having very big troubles with bringing it into this final step of the 3D. Everyone talks about 3D union, but it's actually something more than what we are initially thinking, that this is just two people coming together because they want to. There is a lot of layers into this experience, and especially 3D part, it does get tricky because it actually includes a lot of clashes within our belief system. So you need to know which type of belief system you're bringing into your connection, because we are never fully purified from our belief system entering the connection, right? So the more we know about ourselves, the more we know our tendencies, maybe limitations, the easier it's gonna be to work through them together. So really, I encourage, this is a general advice actually, it's like, don't allow any single part of you undiscovered on this journey, because sometime down the road, you're gonna hit that topic. Like you're gonna have to deal with that sooner or later. So it's better, it gives you more power and sense of readiness, I think. If you discover those uncomfortable topics, maybe if even before any connection comes to your life, because it's very useful to feel ready and feel that all the parts of my life are in my control, and I don't seek for another connection out of desperation because I feel I need to fill some gap, or I feel I cannot survive here on my own. So really think about it in a way that we want to be prepared, that nothing is lacking in our lives. And this is the proper way to start looking for someone else to enter our life. That guarantees that you will not have expectations, you don't have any agendas standing behind and entering the relationship with someone else. So thank you for listening. If there are any questions, if you're interested more in me talking about especially this part of experience, how to bring those material parts into 3D so it works with our spirituality, let me know, because I do feel it's a little bit under explained topic within twin flame community, within spirituality. So I'll be happy to talk more, and good luck with your journeys as usual, and stay tuned for the future videos. Take care.